Kisi ni kazi ya macho. Ni ngapi? 5. And we've not gotten into the details. Maybe the choir master could be having many other people. The chief will be having very many other people, including the wife, okay? The tea farmer will be having many other people, okay? So when I talk about partner notification services, he has come, he's gotten tested, okay? And then it turns out positive. I, as the healthcare worker, will ask him, my brother, does your wife know your status? Ataniambia mimi hapana, sijafanya nini? Sija disclose. So this is where I, as a healthcare worker, takes the initiative to go and test anybody who's having sex with the index person. Index person ni mwenye amekuja, sawa sawa? So I will ask him, ebu nichore tu list. Nichore list tu ya kila mtu ambaye ushailala na yeye. He'll give me a broad list. So my initiative is to go to each and every person who is in the list, okay? When he consents, remember everything is with consent. It's not an easy thing, but it has really worked. It has really worked. So akinituma kwa bibi, nitaenda kwa bibi. Nimwambie, madam naomba kufanya nini? Kukupima, manake kuna mtu ambaye umeinteract na yeye na ni kama kona nini? Ama kama utaki nikupime, walk into any VCT and get tested. Are we together? Alafu akipimwa yeye anajua hali yake sasa. Ndamuuliza uko na wengine? Anipe list, nione chief, nione huyu mwingine ndani. I go to them, I ask them, would you mind giving me a list of those people you had sexual, maybe in the past 6 months? Anipe list. Mimi nafanya nini? It's like contact tracing. So you remember contact tracing your COVID? Yes. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Thank you so much. Sorry. So that is a PNS. And it's a voluntary process where consenting HIV positive clients are assisted by a trained provider to reach their sexual or drug-inducing partners and notify them of their potential exposure to the HIV. It is something that has really yielded, and that is why you see most of the VCTs have been closed down. Because in the VCT, the ones who come normally are the same people who come, but you don't get new people. But through this method, we've been able to get very many new people. I had a photo to explain the same, but because you cannot see it, I will not go through it. And the PNS, the Partner Notification Services, has yielded. Yielding means it has brought so many positive people, and it's a good way. But recently I've not gone through it a lot, but I heard that the government is also discouraging it. I don't know why, but I'll read more on it, and I will let you know. Now, finally, behavioral approaches. That was biomedical, sawa, what the medical people can do. But now when we talk about behavioral approaches, this is basically about behavior, sawa, about behavior. What are we doing, maybe as a church, to encourage good behavior in church and out there? What are we doing? That's basically what is there. Outside there. For instance, where I work, we have programs that we've come up with that targets every age group, whereby we teach them about HIV. Every age group, starting from the primary school students, whereby we teach them. It's called, the first one is Healthy Choices for a Better Future. That's a program aimed at primary school children aged 10 to 12 years. Here we go and we talk to them, a 3 or 4 days session. We tell them the danger signs. When a man touches you this way, this is wrong, do this, we teach them about how don't walk at night alone. You see, so we are increasing their awareness of HIV, because these kids are also very prone to rape. Then we go to My Health, My Choice. My Health, My Choice, we do it between 13 to 18 years. Those are the secondary school children. We also have a program for them. Then we have something we call Families Matter. Families Matter is for parents and the young adults, whereby we have a session for the parents and their children at the same time. Then we have sugar. I know sugar is a common word. Eh? So you've had sugar before. I don't know if you've had sugar, but there's something called sugar. Sawa sawa. So sugar is a program aimed at the youth, 18 to 24 years. And all this is about behavior, encouraging people to behave well to reduce the chances of acquiring HIV. Then we have sister to sister. I love sister to sister because I teach it a lot. So this is basically for ladies. This is how we will teach our ladies that, we are at higher risk of HIV. Why? Because of our biology. Why? Because we are the dependents. By that virtue, you are also at higher risk of getting HIV. We trust so easily. So this is a program whereby we interact with the ladies. We teach them how to stand their ground. So all the ladies, their program is called Sister to Sister. Then we have IBAN Care is for discordant couples. And finally, Respect K is for healthcare workers. So these are some of the programs that the government has come with to combat HIV out there. But I was just thinking that even in the churches, if we would adapt such programs and sensitize each other, create the awareness, talk about HIV, so that it doesn't look like a very big giant, so that we know that this thing is there and we're able to work on it to reduce the prevention. Then as I conclude, is that a lot has been done on HIV, a lot has been done, but my question still lies in the church. What are we doing? What are we doing? These are things that have been done out there. What are we doing as Kahawa Wendani? Tunafanya nini ndio tuzuie hii HIV? What are we doing to our youths? What are we doing to our children? What are we doing to the adults? So the spread of the epidemic must be halted. We have to halt it. Lazima tuisimamishe. And with all this information, you need to do something. Let it bother you. I'm so passionate about HIV. When I'm not in the hospital, this is what I do. So, and people are suffering, when you go to learning, we realize that even putting on a condom, people don't know how to put on a condom, And this is someone who's like 40 years in marriage. Anyway, so there are very many things that you come to learn. We always assume. But on the ground, things are different. So let's open our hearts, let's open our minds, let's combat HIV together. Sawa sawa wanawendani? Isikai kama giant pale, no. It's within us and we need to come together to fight it. Is there any question?
How was the talk? Now we want to ask questions. Any question, we need to talk. We need to be open. Are those things strange? Zimekuwa strange sana. Naona Eldatai, just come. Who else? Sheila kuja, just come. Hii mambo ya watu siku hizi wanaogopa mimba kushinda HIV, si ndio? Vijana, si hapo ndio tuko? Sawa, wacha tusikie Elda anasema nini, then ama tuanze na Sheila. What do you think? Sawa.
Okay, thank you for the talk. I have a question. I know that men can transmit HIV because of HPV. So can HPV, like, watu wanaweza enda wakapimwa, or you can reduce it? Like, how can you do about it? And then the second question is, I found out that kulikuwa na a mother was found like ako HIV positive, but the man is not, and they were tested together. Does it mean that one person is asymptomatic or something like that? Yes.
Happy Sabbath. Happy day. Yeah, for me, I have questions in two areas, and we would need to be educated. Now that we have health professionals with us here, I have a relative, an uncle, who was tested. Okay, I'm surrounded by health professionals. My wife is, my mother is, my mother-in-law is, my brother is, my sister is. So I get curious from what I hear them say. Anyway, my told me my uncle tested an uncle of mine. One of my uncles somewhere tested positive in 1992. So we waited for him to die. Because they said that usually that time, you know, as we are of the 80s, these are 80s, kwanza when the HIV came, and we were being taught in church, and it was a scary experience. You know, there would be pictures of people dying on the screens, and you know it's not an easy thing. Eh? So my uncle was tested around that time, and we thought he would die about 1995, 96 there. Now that uncle is there today. And it doesn't look like he is dying anytime soon. So could you please educate us? What is this that happens that some people die so soon while others seem to kind of take so long with the same condition? Is it that this HIV is becoming less severe, or the potency of the virus is subsiding, or is it the immunity of the people are getting more immune to this virus? What is happening? So question number 2. You mentioned something about voluntary male medical circumcision, that it helps curtail the infections by quite a percentage. Or what about female circumcision? Does it have an effect, whether positive or negative, in the spread of HIV? I think those are my questions.
Would you want to
assist? I'm not answering. I'm just stating the statements for you so that you answer. Sheila asked about HPV. This is a human papilloma virus that we are testing for cancer of the cervix, yes? Yes. What is the relationship between transmission from a lady to a man, or a man to a lady? Was it like so? Something like that? Human papilloma virus. And of course, maybe you start with us, or we do the discordant couples. Okay.
Happy Sabbath. Thank you so much for those wonderful questions. To respond to her question, in the program to say that there's something we called STI screening. We say that that's one of the initiatives to prevent HIV. Si tulisema hivyo? STI screening. STI screening, if you go for the advanced STI screening, you tested for syphilis, you tested for gonorrhea, you tested for HPV, you tested for very many other sexually transmitted viruses. What you realize is that, let me give like out of 10 people you'll test for sexually transmitted infections, you might find 2 of them are also having HIV, because the route of transmission is the same. Are we together? How is sexually transmitted infections transmitted? Sexually. which is the highest way of HIV transmission? See, you talk. Sexually. Are we together? Are you seeing the relationship? So if this person is able to acquire STI, and we know STI is majorly acquired if you have multiple sexual partners. Are we together? So if you have multiple sexual partners and you can evidently present with gonorrhea, I will not be shocked to see you presenting with what? With HIV. Are we together? Because at the end of the day, the mode of transmission is the same. You're having unprotected sex clearly, that's why you're having the STI, and you're also having multiple sexual partners. So by the virtue that you might present with gonorrhea, I will be tempted to test HIV. Okay? Any patient who comes to me having gonorrhea, naambia hapana, test HIV as well. Okay? Because gonorrhea is uncomfortable, there will be discharges, you don't just want to get over and done with those things. But you forget HIV, which is being transmitted slowly. So they'll come, they want the STI to be treated, but they forget that there's another giant, the HIV. Are we together? So that's the relationship. So anybody who presents with STI, it's better to also screen for HIV because the mode of transmission is the same and the risk is the same. Is that clear?
Maybe the HPV, one of the risk factors for HPV, human papilloma virus, is multiple sexual partners. Okay? So if you have multiple sexual partners, definitely you are at risk of human papilloma virus. So that makes you a catch for testing for HIV because you're already at risk of having multiple sexual partners. Another thing is basically what you're talking about, the human papilloma virus. It exposes you. It exposes you, especially for ladies. A case in example, a man can be having an STI that is not manifested so easily as compared to ladies because of our anatomy. Ladies, you get that? A small percentage, the candidiasis. Candidiasis is a problem to most ladies, all right? But for a man, it is rarely manifested. It's because of an anatomy. So sometimes ladies exhibit, wanaonyesha sana, these small things. One of them is the candidiasis. The white thing that itches, those things. And you treat it alone, leaving the man. So anytime you get together, it transmits it again. So that is how it is. Because you harbor some of these things. Some of them are too deep. But that is how it is. Of an anatomy, that is why cancer screening is so much important to ladies than to men. As we do the prostate, but HPV is a cardinal sign for test for cervical cancer. So that is where we start from. So multiple sexual partners has a link with HIV/AIDS transmission in that aspect. Now the discordant couples, if I got it, is a man was negative and the lady is positive. So how does that happen? I don't know whether you want to try or I start. This is very possible. As she was speaking, sometimes because both of you are in agreement and the viral suppression is at a level that you can continue having sexual relationship, so the man and the lady have reached a point where the viral suppression is undetectable from the word go. Each knew their status at that present time. That is why we encourage even those who want to marry, you go for a pre-marriage counseling and testing. Okay? Some pastors will allow you to do that so that you are aware. The one you are dealing with is at this state and the other person Should you continue it at your discretion? So this is what happened. So these two couples knew each other and their status at the word go. And every program has been put in place to make sure the other one remains as negative as possible, this other one remain as positive as possible. Hapo nimeongea vibaya. So the discordancy at the word go, each and every person knew their status. So they are taken care of how to take care of their status in both sides. So it starts from the program itself, how it is carried forward so that one remains negative, the other remains positive. On the aspect of follow-up and viral suppression, I think maybe you have something to add?
I think that's quite elaborate. Just like we've spoken about treatment as prevention. Do you remember treatment as prevention? Where we said U is equals to U? Do you remember? Do you remember? Yes. So if, just like the elder said, if you are undetectable, then you are untransmittable. Okay? Yes. But you cannot just look at me and say, hey, Lynette, you are virally suppressed. No. You have to undergo the viral load test and confirm you're virally suppressed. Sawa sawa. The same way, you can't look at someone and say they're HIV positive. Sawa sawa. So that's how the discordant couples, most of them are able to survive. So they ensure that the viral load is totally suppressed, because are they having children? Yes, they're having children. HIV negative children? Yes, HIV negative children. Are they living long? Are they living? They are living very long. Okay, they are living very long because their levels of HIV, it's undetectable. They have used the drugs, they have adhered to the drugs, and they are doing well. So they are almost living as normal people. But don't forget, even if your viral load is undetectable, your HIV test will still be positive. Are we together? It doesn't mean you're HIV negative. So even if you're undetectable virally, when you go for HIV testing, you'll still be HIV positive, but with achievement of viral suppression. I hope that's clear. Then the other question was about the ankle. Sijui kama tai unatupima tu akili, because if everybody is a medic, then probably you have the answer. Is he on ARVs? You don't know. You don't know. So let me assume he's on ARVs, because if he wasn't on ARVs, probably would have died by 1995. Okay? So ARVs are very effective, and apparently nowadays some of them have side effects whereby you gain weight a lot. When unakaa ule sonko kabisa, unasimama, nobody can tell you have HIV. Okay? So the ARVs are doing a good job. And we've seen people living very long, 16 years, 20 years, healthy. Wanakula mzuri, wameji-accept the way they are are using medication, and they are living a normal life. Recently, I had someone say, heri, sahi kwenye cancer imetufikisha, heri nishikwe na HIV kushinda nishikwe na nini? Na cancer. Because HIV is, if you choose to live with it, you can live very long. Cancer, itakupeleka mbio mbio, sawa sawa. So it's about acceptance, positive mind. If you set your mind, you're going to do it, you accept your condition, you will live very long, like any other person. But every day you have to take your medication. So that's probably why your uncle is still alive. Then the other question was on female circumcision. Female circumcision is not allowed in our country. It's against the law. See, you know about it, FGM, female genital mutilation. If you are caught doing it, you're taken to the court of law. So it's against our policies as a country. So with that regard, I can't even talk much about it, because they have never run, I think they have not even done a study to see if female, because it's not an allowed practice. Sawa sawa. It's like okay, I just don't know their example to use, but it's not allowed, so no study has been done about it. But for men, it has been done, and it has been found that it is what? It is working. Mm. Mm. Okay. From my point of understanding, I think there's no study. Maybe somebody can pick it up to decide to assess if by being circumcised as a lady, it can reduce your chances of getting HIV. If a study is done on it, but right now, yeah, maybe increase or decrease. But right now, there's no study. Unaona? Maybe somebody needs to think about that. Somebody needs to think about it, check it up, and see if at all this has any relationship to the spread of HIV. But currently, there's no data about it, honestly. They only talk about the male circumcision. And then Elder spoke about something which is very true, that it's so sad that nowadays we as young ladies fear pregnancy more than HIV. On Mondays is normally a very bad day for me at work, on Monday, especially when people are paid, because everybody will come, Madam, sijui condom ilipasuka, nipe pep, nipatie pep, yani everybody. In a day, 10 people will come complaining of what? The same thing. So what they did yesterday night, I don't know. Ladies will wake up, rush and get P2. Sindio? Watakimbia chemist watafute nini? P2. To prevent what? Pregnancy. But who thinks about HIV? Who will run and say, let me get tested, eh? I'll take the partner for testing. Nobody will think about it. That shows you that indeed we are headed towards the wrong direction. So as young ladies, let's know that HIV is there, and pregnancy, you will come, utazaa, utaishi maisha kawaida, but HIV will be there to stay. So let's fear, not really fear in a bad way, but let's be cognizant of HIV. I would rather rush and get PEP than rush and get P2, okay? Rather rush and get PEP and get protected, and rather than rushing to get P2 to prevent the pregnancy. I think,
I think that is fine. Any other question? Just come. The two women. Oh, you want to add? This batch, I think we conclude with this batch, then Elder Uma will come maybe and add.
Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath. And happy day. I just want to ask two questions. One is in line of what I read this week, if I'm not wrong. Now, this week on Daily Nation, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, it was published that there are ARVs that had been given to patients and they were recalled back by the Ministry of Health, being that they were changing color or something like that, and they said that maybe they are having side effects which might be severe to the receivers. And there was one who was complaining that he returned his drugs to the hospital where he got them from, but they refused to receive them back. And she still needs them to keep taking them without that skipping. Now, in such a case, how is this person helped? Because he or she will continue taking the same one which has been recalled by the government. And number two, is the government or going to be liable to the side effects that this person has received? Because he never procured them, him or herself, they were given from KEMSA. That is the first question. Now, the second question is that when you began, there's a quote that I read from medical ministry, if I'm not wrong, which stated that the world standard or principles should not be the same as the church standards or principles. Now, from the history of Adventism, or from 1984, when it first came into Kenya, for example. Now, up to date, I've never heard of any church principle apart from adopting the world's principle. For example, all that have been presented are what the practitioners or the government has put in place. Now, as a church, and we also have scientists and medics, is there anything even that is in the process of being done so that we can also be helped? Because I believe that the root problem is not being dealt with. For example, we have the government or the world setting standards like the PrEPs, the PEPs, the condoms, and all of that. But the root problem is still not dealt with. For example, if I advise a young man that use a condom, Sindio, have I dealt with the root problem? No, because what he's going to doing if he's out of marriage is still not right. So is there anything that the church is putting in place to deal with the root cause of this problem? Thank you.
I think I'll handle the first and ask Elder Juang to handle the second one. When there's a question, okay. Let's just have the questions together and then we answer them at once. I don't know how much time we still have. Should be concluding. Maybe this is the last set of questions.
Happy Sabbath. I wanted to ask you on three. One, sometimes back, there was a story run at Tuko. And what came out was the guy was a gay. Upon testing, he was positive. Upon taking those drugs, the ARVs, the viral load was suppressed. But later, he turned out to be negative. What is the logic behind? Can we say that from the word go, he was not positive, or it was all about the miss with those testing kits? And the other one, what is the window period on PrEP? What is the window period of using those drugs? And on top of that, I really don't know if you ever come across anyone or maybe worked in a facility where these things, people get tested. And what is the church doing to absorb? Because mostly you realize that the people who are already maybe like who have gotten into now sinking this ship of being positive, they tend to get themselves out of the church. And what is really the church doing to bring them back? There's another thing here I want to also to ask you on HIV-1. Is it necessary, that is when trying to ask on the natural conception, the partners are on ART, you understand? And this surrogacy in between. Will it be of necessary for them continue taking those PrEPs on natural? Yeah, thank you.
He was the last. Okay. I've remembered a point, just to add on what you said. You asked about the severity of HIV. Has it gone down? I had forgotten that to mention something. We have two types of HIV, okay? We have HIV type 1 and HIV type 2. HIV type 1 is very common in the western part of Africa, and it is very virulent, very virulent. You get it and it takes you far. But HIV type 2, it's what we commonly see in Eastern Africa and is not as virulent. Sawa sawa. It's not as virulent. But what studies say, if let's say I'm HIV positive and I continue having unprotected sex, that I may develop a much virulent trait. I don't know if you're getting me. May make my HIV more virulent. That's what the studies are saying. Eh? So that's why they're also telling, if you're HIV positive, learn to be faithful. Don't have to go around thinking that you're spreading it. You could also be making trouble for yourself. Like the story we had the kids tell in the morning. Unafikiri una spread, but you're also damaging yourself. So the type of HIV that you have also determines how fast you may die. If you have HIV type 1 and you don't adhere to medication, you might easily die because it's very, very virulent. It's like having, I don't know which example to get, but I hope you're understanding that point. Hiyo ingine nenda pole pole itakupeleka mbio sana. Hii nyingine itakupeleka mbio sana. Now, maybe you read the questions.
There was a batch that was called, but a patient refused to, or he took it back, but the facility refused to receive the drug back. So one, is it, does the patient have a chance of suing even the government? Or, I think that is the gist of the question. I don't know whether I've framed it well.
And how will this person survive?
Yes, how will he survive?
They don't have the ARVs.
It doesn't have the ARVs, or is using the same ARVs that were called.
Okay. Let's understand that it's not the first time a drug is being recalled. There are very many drugs that have been recalled with time, over time. Antibiotics, maybe a mistake on the manufacturer's side. It could be a mistake on the storage aspect. A mistake just happened somewhere, and you realize even when you're being told, it's a common practice. You're told this batch number, between this number, if you have a drug batch number this, kindly check it back. There's a problem, okay? There are forms in the hospital we fill. In case of drug reactions, there are forms we fill. So that if they're able to realize that very many institutions are complaining about this drug, they have a look at it. Are we together? So drug reactions are monitored, sort of. So if you have an abnormal reaction to a certain drug, and it's heard from this hospital, another hospital, another hospital, another hospital, these guys sit down and have a look at it. And if it's true, there's a problem, they recall it, just like those ARVs, the ones that were recalled. So it's a problem that is common. I may not say it's the first time. It's common, and it's unfortunate for this patient. Getting the ARVs is not as easy as we think. At times you go to the facility, unaambiwa it's out of stock. Sio rahisi. You don't think it's just a walk in the park. At times you go. The good thing is that they tend to give people, if you're daring well, you're given around 3 months medication. So ukiona yako imekaribia kuisha, like before the 3 months, you're able to rush and get another one. So ushikangu wakati hauna kabisa. Are we together? Haukuangi na zero stock. So you realize I have a 1 week or 2 weeks to go, you rush and get a stock. So in case hakuna, unaambiwa wewe ngojea 1 week utakujia. But you see, you still have at least something to push you for that 2 weeks. Are you getting? So what we tell them, when you're coming for a refill, don't wait till the last day. Come before your drugs are over, so that in case there's an issue, you are able to do what? To have a little to push you before the issue is sorted. So it's unfortunate if that patient didn't have ARVs, it's unfortunate. But I hope she gets help as soon as possible. Yes. Then the other one was?
Just before I get into the principle that the church would be able to sell to the world instead of the world selling principles to us. You remember the COVID vaccine battles? Can you remember? The AstraZeneca fighting, you get the same thing. It's the same gist. The ARVs also has supremacy battles. I'm not denying the batch numbers might be a problem. It might be having a problem, yes? But I believe also the multinationals have an interest in most of the ARVs. You get that? So they call it back so that there's some interests that are at play. So that those who think my ARVs might be cheaper, but is also as effective as others, then I have to push the government machineries so that I can also be able to sell. That's a possibility. Why that? It passed through all the systems and it was found to the patient's drawer. So those are things that can actually happen. But we leave it at that. What is important, if it is called, if it is not something that is harmful to the patient, definitely. Maybe the facility thought is the same ARVs, some other people have used it, why don't I receive? You go back and get your ARVs. So those are, and one thing, it is very hard. It is very hard to sue the government. Why? Will you ascertain that the use of ARVs has cost 1, 2, 3? As a layman, it will be very hard to prove that. Now, on the principles, how many sermons have been preached here for us to change, even on our lifestyle, as Seventh-day Adventists, on good principles that we need to do as Christians who are waiting for the second coming of Christ? Tunafuata? Hatufuati? A case in example, we should be coming here for midweek on Wednesday and on Friday. How many attend? A very good principle of the church that wants you to be built spiritually. Hiyo pia amwezi fuata. Sasa hii ya HIV ndio mnataka kufuata. Tukuje na yetu kutoka kwa medical professions who are working for the church. Na tuambie mfuate hii na hii, mkule hii na hii. Hiyo mtafuata. Sabato inatakikana tukuje hapa saa 2. Watu wanakuja saa 5. Hiyo ndio tutafuata. I'm just making it that way. Of course, we have good principles that the church can sell to the world. But the problem, the same church that is having those principles doesn't show those principles. So then we borrow them from outside. We are not saying, even outside, there are also scientists who are also Christians. And they're bringing good things to us to do what? To follow. We don't deny. The problem is, we are so comfortable as Christians to a point that, wacha kuniguza, wacha mimi niende vile mimi najua. So which other principle that is good as we wait for the soon return of Christ that want us to share with the entire world? There are several things that this church teaches. On dressing, on how to eat. Hapo nikiguza, usianza kufikiria mambo ingine. There are several basic things that are being taught in this church that the world can do what? Can emulate. Wangapi wako kwa ofisi, unajulikana we ni msabato. And how are we known? Ni watu wakuli majani, hawakunywi majani na wakuli nyama. Hapo ndio mahali tumefika. So that is the principle we want to take to the world. Hatuwezi. If we are known that we don't take tea leaves and we don't take meat for 1, 2, 3 reasons, then that principle can be bought to, can be sold to the world. It's the same thing. If we can, let me not. There was a preacher who said, for the Seventh-day Adventists, they are known to be promiscuous. That is known. To the Catholics, I'm sorry, ni watu wa kupenda pesa. To the AIC and other people, there was something else. So as we are known, ya kuwa atutuli, we are known, that is known. I don't know if it's a misconception or what, but if somebody tags you as a Seventh-day Adventist, wewe unajulikana wewe tu, kazi yako ni That is why our choirs, our nini, that is how it is. So which principles as a church do we have that even the world can do what? Can emulate. So that even Imambo HIV, if we talk with authority because we are known to have some principles. Iyo principle, waonge lumburu. Elder, lumburu atuna. So that when you stand and say, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I stand with 1, 2, 3, 4, we don't have a backbone. You can be swayed because they know you don't have that principle. So what the church is teaching and what the spirit of prophecy has, very good things, but we don't follow. So which principles do we have that we can sell to the world? So let the world give us, and we adopt, because asisi atuna. Am I talking badly? Yes, atuna, we don't have, but they are there. It is that we don't want to follow. A case in example, the week of prayer, we are all full here. The following week, tulikuwa wapi? We are not there. Elder Tai always posts. Very few people. I'm not saying, those are the principles that people know. That this is a Seventh-day Adventist, inajulikana, Sabato, kuanzia sahi mpaka sahi, this is a principle. Msabato anaishi hivi na hivi, lakini hatuna. So we have principle, yes, but we don't want to sell them to the world. Maybe the Tuko news from my brother Meroka. This is a gay who was positive, self-proclaimed positive. He took the ARV, self-proclaimed. Then he now turns negative, self-proclaimed. How sure are we that at the word go, he was positive, he took the ARVs, he showed to the world his test. After that, HIV testing is an individual thing. So if somebody wants to proclaim it, add 1 + 1, is it being used by other people to show other things? You get that? So if I'm positive, I'm a gay, I'm positive, let me remain the way I am. But the science has it, as my sister says, if you're positive, you are tested, you will remain positive. There's nothing that will change. It is only the viral load that will be suppressed. That is a fact. That is a fact. So somebody should not lie to you that now we've taken drugs, now we can run other tests. The long ELISA test, maybe the data mine will show you are not positive. But if we run the long test, definitely you'll turn positive. So there's no way. You are seroexposed, then you turn negative. It is not possible. Not in science.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to add on that first point, on what policies does the church have? And going back to that quote, we said that never ignore the true standards. And the Bible is very clear that adultery is wrong, fornication is wrong. And we saw clearly that HIV is when you have multiple sex partners. So you already define that, okay? That is when you get it through sex, because there are very many other ways of getting it. Are we together? So if you get it via sexual transmission, that means probably you are not faithful. And as he says that we in the church are not faithful. We in the church are not faithful. It's not something we're going to debate about. It is there. So if we stick to the original principles of the Lord, then we can be able to suppress this HIV. If you stick to your wife, if you stick to your husband, then if all of you are negative, where will you get HIV from? I don't think you'll get it from anywhere, not unless you get it through other ways. Sawa sawa. So those are some of the biblical principles that if we abide by, then you're going to reduce the HIV. Then the results, it's very common. You hear a lot. But the fact is, if you are positive, you'll remain positive forever. There's no point your results will change. So if there's a wrong diagnosis at initiation, then you get later another wrong diagnosis. It's just a mix of confusion. But once you're positive, you'll remain positive. The others, the stories. Once positive, always positive. Yeah. There was another question you had asked for post-exposure ama pre. Pre within 72 hours if you've pre. Sorry? Yeah? I didn't quite understand the last question. The last question that you had asked, I didn't quite understand it, but maybe you can come and ask clearer. I didn't quite understand the natural thing that you're talking about. I didn't quite understand. But once you are at risk, let's say you have been raped or you've had unprotected sex and you don't know the status of this person, you need to be initiated on PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, within 72 hours. Sawa. Within 72 hours. Pre-exposure for the key population, it's a tab they take every day. Are we together? Wanameza kama mtu ambaye ako infected. So ni dawa ya kila siku. Sawa. Si tunachukua leo alafu kesho umewacha. So they take it every day for the pre-exposure. Then
I was asking, if partners they are taking PrEP on natural conception, and they are on, they have a low viral load, and also they are on those ART. Will it be of necessary for them to have that during natural conception? Like, is it of necessary to take the PrEP during natural conception? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll take you back to the U is equals to U, and detectable is untransmittable. So if I have a client, both of them are, you're saying both of them are HIV positive, eh? One, discordant couple, how will they probably get babies? Sindio? Because you cannot have babies while using a condom. Sindio? And when you're not using a condom, chances of transmitting to the other partner is very high. So what happens with time when their viral load is suppressed kabisa? Sawa. But when their viral load is not suppressed and they really want a child, then we put them on prophylaxis. You get? When the viral load is high, there are high chances of transmitting. So we'll put them on something, and then they can probably have sex and have a baby. But what we encourage, mostly, they achieve viral suppression, and then they can have babies comfortably. But if the viral load is pretty high, we have to put them on something else, and then allow them to do that. It's okay? Okay, fine.
My hypothesis is the night of the natural conception, should they stop? Because, of course, their viral load is suppressed. The experience as it's, when you already started the ARVs, you don't stop. Even for one day, you don't stop. Because you are bringing what we call resistance, and you'll go to second line and even third line, which have their consequence in terms of side effects or anything. So what happens is, of course, when you are interested in natural conception, they always add 1 or 2 of the second line treatment for some time, so that they just monitor your viral load. If the viral load is really suppressed, then they will withdraw the second and they monitor the conception and they test after delivery. Of course, after, is it 6 months, is when you can seroconvert. Naturally, even after you've given birth, the first 6 months, if you're positive, your child will definitely be positive because of the antibodies, antigen. You get that? So after 6 months is when you now seroconvert, because the natural way your antibodies from the mother has actually started getting out. That is why we are saying 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, because we expect that antibody antigen still with the baby. You get that? So what we are saying is a baby, that's natural conception. There's no way they'll stop even the night if they want to have the natural conception, because we are at risk of flaring up or getting resistant. You get that? So that is a fact. You don't stop you continue with your ARVs even as you look for a baby the natural way. Yes, I think you want to say something? Huh?
Just before you say something, there's something you've mentioned that I've remembered. Right now, we are very much worried because of the upcoming antimicrobial resistance. We know it's the next biggest problem in Africa, antibacterial resistance, because kikohoa kidogo nimemeza argument so we are misusing antibiotics, and right now where we are headed, you'll be sick but there'll be no drug to do what? To cure you, because you have all developed what? Resistance. And apparently even in HIV, the resistance levels are coming up. The resistance levels are coming up. So someone is HIV positive, unampatia hii dawa, inakata. The viral load is still going up. Unamweka second line, inakata. So the resistance level is also coming up. That's something to get worried of. Because kama uko nayo, unataka dawa na dawa ifanyi kazi, now what will you do? Unaona? So we need to be very, very careful. If positive, adhere to your medication. Ukienda kuona girlfriend, umeficha kwa kitanda haumezi. Ukienda conference ya youth, umeficha haumezi. So take your medications faithfully, and you'll reduce the resistance, and we'll cover a very big problem that we can foresee in the future if we continue misusing the ARVs.
Okay, fine.
Eldondim, you can ask yours. It's a second thought after I've said something. Happy Sabbath. My comment is on Christian values. And based on what our facilitator indicated, the behavioral aspect of it. And Elder, you have spoken about it. I just felt I needed to add something to it. All these solutions that our facilitator and Elder have talked about are solutions that have been brought to us because of our tough-headedness. If at all we would follow the biblical principles that Madam Lynn was talking about, even the C aspect would not be there. Those days, I don't know whether now it has changed. They used to talk about A, B, C. A is about being abstinence, and B being faithful. These are the principles of the church that the world adopted from the church and brought it to us. But because we are too tough-headed, they brought us condom. Condom is not even biblical. The Bible has never accepted condom. It is not allowed as far as the principles of the Bible is concerned. And if you want to know that, go to the book of Genesis chapter 38, when it's talking about the son of Judah and Onan and Er. You'll get to know about it. But why is it brought to us today? Because wanadamu ni vichwa ngumu hawasikii. We are taught the biblical principles, we do not follow, then the world will now bring anything they think can be able to help humanity so that these issues can be sorted out. The problem we have, kiongozi, ni kwamba we fear that which kills the body, but we don't care about what kills the soul. And that is what Jesus talked about when he was speaking to his disciples somewhere in Matthew chapter 10. Human beings, including Adventists here, they fear what kills the body, the HIV. But they don't fear losing eternity because of adultery and because of fornication. If we would be faithful and follow those principles, Madam would not be speaking about HIV and AIDS here. We would not be looking for solutions to maybe, including the question that Elder Atai was asking about female circumcision. First of all, is it biblical? You know, once our scientists have taught us this, Me as an elder go back to biblical aspect of it. Is it even biblical for us to say, let us do some research on female circumcision and see if it can help reduce HIV, then we follow it. Then I go back to our Christian principle. Is it allowed? When God was speaking to the servant, he said, only male children are supposed to be circumcised. So why do we look solutions that are outside the principle and the Bible to sort out a behavioral problem? Shida tuko nayo ni behavioral problem. And if we would take that passionate discussion as our facilitators have said, then we would not worry. Right now we look so gloomy in church because, and we say 50%. Sasa labda unajiangalia unasema, hey, kitu niko nayo. So it worries you, but the problem you have is behavioral problem. We are in the church and including elders, we are adulterers. We are in the church including, and we are fornicators. You are not married and you know you are a youth, but you see somebody outside there. Alafu shida ikisha kuja sasa, we are looking for solutions. Kiongozi, passionately, this is what I would say. This message has come to us so that we can amend. You know, tunahubiriwa. Elder alikuwa anauliza mara ngapi tumehubiriwa hapa? Na hii story ya adultery, hata ukihubiri kwa kanisa utaambiwa huyu amehubiri sababu ananijua. Because we don't want to hear and be told the truth. This is the truth, children of God. Kama wewe ni mzee na uko na nyumba yako, Biblia inasema kunywa maji kwa nini yako. Acha hii maneno ya kufikiria ile ingine ni mzuri kuku. They are the same. Did I say something? Yes. And you young people who are here, wacha kuogopa kupata mimba. Can you first fear what kills your soul? Because fornication takes you to hell. You fear getting a baby, you fear getting HIV, lakini roho umepoteza milele. Then what you need to fear first is killing your own soul. Because when you fornicate, there's no heaven. When you're an adulterer, there's no heaven. That should worry you more than even getting a child, than even getting HIV. If you would stick to that, then this story would not be there. The prevalence we are talking about would not be there. Lakini, sisi ni vichwa ngumu, we don't want to follow, and when you are corrected, you get annoyed, unaona mtu anaingia kwa macho yako. We will say the truth. As far as I'm concerned, condom is not approved in the Bible. It is not. And there is no time Elder Uma will come and tell you it is approved. Never. Whether you come tough-headed, big-headed, whatever, it will never change. And that is what our sister said. The standards of heaven have never changed. Stick to the standards of heaven. Wait for your time. And if you need birth control, there are better ways of doing it than even using that condom. And I think our medics can be able to tell us such kind of things. That is my addition. Thank you, Elder.
Thank you so much, Elder, for passionately being a medic and getting the biblical aspect. Asante. Kwa sababu ya umri.
Kwa sababu asante sana kwa mzee. Mimi hiyo kitu kilikuwa kwa roho yangu, lakini nilishindwa vile nitaiweka. Musikie kabisa, ilikuwa kwa roho yangu, ndio manake imenifanya nikaamuka pale. Health is a for what? Laws. Si ni kweli? Health is among them. 10 commandments, ceremonial, health iko na civil. Nani alipeana hiyo? Nani alipeana hiyo laws? Ni Mungu. Asante sana mzee kwa kuweka mzuri. Hii ni behavior yetu na Saitani amefinya sisi na tunaumia kwa sababu ya kutujua. Amini tumejua ni kutufuata.
Just before Elder talks something, out of what the good information you've received, knowing the nature of Christians we have in church nowadays, and umesema vizuri sisi ni vichwa nini? Vichwa ngumu. And as a medical practitioner, this is what I would say. If being faithful is a problem, then use a condom. Are we together? because we have chosen to defy the will of God, which is to be faithful. But kama ni shida, if all you have to do is to use that condom, then you better use it. Sawa sawa. Yes, but if we are able to stick to the original plan of God, the better for us. But ukilemewa, let me say umelemewa na shetani kabisa. Let me say that. I don't wish to say it, but let me say it. Ukilemewa, tumia nini? Condom. Prevention is better than cure. Lakini ukiweza kuzuia, lakini najua Mungu ambaye tunamwomba anaweza kutupa nguvu ya kuzuia vitu kama hivi, the better for us. Yes. And you know, I was given 1 hour and I think we've stood here for a very long time.
Good evening. I think time is well spent. Leo ilikuwa siku ya health. So tumeamua tu waja waendelee. They have decided to take charge and we agree. But Mungu atusaidie. Swali langu ni hili. I've been listening to what our sister has been teaching, but there is something that touched me. You know, doctors are human beings just like us. We are all the same when it comes to humanity. We have had cases of doctors, I don't know whether to call it negligence or what, whereby you are sick of cancer, they have treated you diabetes. It has happened. Now there is a case I had. I've tried to remember, but I cannot be able to, the specific period, where somebody went to a hospital and he was diagnosed. During those days, forget these days, there is an easy way you can be able to detect HIV in your body. Those days where you used to leave your blood and you come after 2 weeks to check for the result. There is somebody who went to a hospital. After 1 or 2 weeks, he went back and he was told you are HIV positive. He was put under medication. He took those antiviral, okay, for some time. After a while, he felt he was not sick enough that he could continue taking them. He went back, and then he was tested twice. There was no disease. The question is, if I'm a healthy person and I'm taking ARVs, and basically I'm not sick, what are the side effects of this medicine, especially to a healthy person? Just the same way, I'm trying to understand this, that somebody of sound mind goes to a hospital to ask for PrEP, the way you have been putting. What we are not getting are the side effects, the long use of those kind of medicine, so that we can be able to discourage some of our members approaching your areas. Thank you.
There was another question somewhere. It's a comment. It can come later. Okay. Sawa. Hey, side effects is something very broad because the side effects are not equal. Sawa sawa. Each drug has its side effect. Even the paracetamol we take has its side effects. Are we together? So whatever drug you're on, if it's first class, second class, all the drugs have different side effects. There are those that could result to increase in weight. There are those that impair the kidney function. There are those that interfere with the eyesight. There are those that interfere with the hearing. Are we together? There are those that bring about skin. There are very many side effects. Just one day, if you're given if you're given a drug, open that courtesy that is normally inside. Apparently, every drug has a side effect. Sawa sawa. Because this was not God's original plan of handling disease. Drugs are not God's original plan of handling disease. God's plan was that we handle the diseases and cure them naturally. But these other man-made drugs, they also have side effects. You get medication, fungua hiyo ka leaflet ndani, just read through the side effects. Sawa sawa. Read through the side effects. So they are there, different. Sawa sawa. Yes.
This is a normal person that has gone for a prep. Especially some of us who are medics, when you are exposed, you are told to take the drugs within 72 hours. Okay? You expect to experience what we call immune reconstitution inflammatory syndrome. Your immune is detecting there's a strange thing that has come into your body that is not normal. Then you start feeling very sick because of the inflammation. So that is why it's not going to be very comfortable by taking the drugs, but you have to take them. Because it is something strange in you. Maybe the disease is not even there, but it wants to be sure that it clears it. So immunity, your immunity will react, and that reaction will come with several things. One of them, you might even experience diarrhea, you can feel headaches, you can feel some fever, you can feel, you are so sick for the next 2 weeks. So that is what you experience. So for some of us who want to take the post-exposure prophylaxis, be sure that you expect to have such kind of a reaction. It is called an inflammatory response because your immunity is reconstituting itself. So you expect to be so sick as your immune system adjusts. It's the same way when the ARVs, those who are sick, then they are started on ARVs, definitely you experience that. Your immune system reconstitutes itself so that it's able to fight. Then after that, you pick and you continue. So that is why there's no worry. You are told you will be experiencing post-exposure prophylaxis. After 2 weeks, you expect to react that way. You are told to continue so that you are sure your system clears it. So those are the things that you experience. You will experience those things. So we want to discourage you that as a Christian, when you are exposed, okay, don't make it an habit because you'll feel that sick and you'll stop. And meanwhile, maybe you are exposed. So you leave, then the HIV flares up, and that is how it is. So what you are saying, let us stick to the principles of the Bible. That will help us. Maybe we allow my sister to comment, then facilitator to conclude, then we call it a day. There are several things we can talk about that I think mtatukubalia next time we'll organize. 10th is coming, 10th December, I think it's a health Sabbath, so we are on it again.
Mjambo wana wa Mungu, nasema hivi, mimi kwangu siogopi, ninajua that's why inaitwa dunia. Usifikiri dunia iko peaceful. It is not peaceful. Yesu ndiye alienda na peace, na akirudi ndio tutapata nini? Tapata peace. Mungu akiangalia, we are careless. We don't have respect. Hatumkumbuki. Unafikiri anakugeuza na nini? Hiyo ndio kipoko Mungu analeta kwetu. Mtoto wako akikosa, lazima umdiscipline na utabeba kiboko uchape. Na Mungu pia ni hivyo. Na bado mnangoja nyingine. We are handling corona, hata hiyo ni past, hiyo imeshapita, hata hatuikumbuki. Lakini ikikuja ishi, inaendelea. Na ingine itakuja iongezee corona na ishi na inaendelea mpaka Yesu akuje. Tusingatie neno la Mungu, tusingatie yale yameandikwa kwa Biblia. Kitu moja na wahimiza ni sio yote unafuata inatoka kwa serikali, si yote. Iko ingine you have to unaenda kando, unafuata ya Mungu peke yake. Thank you.
Asante ma'am, you've umemaliza kwa hali mzuri sana. I don't know whether Lensa is in. Just come and say something, even as we conclude this day. Allow Lensa, because she's the leader, to speak. Then I think she'll direct us.
Good evening. Thank you so much for your patience and even for your time. So as we finish, I hope we are carrying something home. Hata ukisahau kila kitu, enda na ile 90-90-90, si ndio? 90% diagnostic, the testing, 90% treatment, and 90% viral suppression. Sawa sawa? Najua prep na prep satutasahau, pep na prep satutasahau. So as I finish, Sister Lynette, thank you so much. You've said it as it is. Si ameisema vizuri? Hata ile huwa tunaogopa kutaja, amezisema. So at least let us carry something home. And remember, December is HIV Awareness Month. At least we've learned something. We'll be able to do the counseling and testing tomorrow for among the programs that we'll be having. So as I finish, nawakaribisha tena for tomorrow event, tukuje sisi wote. The registration for cervical cancer is so good, the number is good. So wale bado waja register, bado unaweza nipea jina ama utatuma jina through SMS. Sawa sawa. Thank you so much, na karibuni wote kesho from 8 to 4 in the evening.
Good evening once again. Tunashukuru sana kwa mgeni wetu for the great ideas that we have shared, especially this evening. Some of these things, they look so easy, so normal, yet they are so new every day as you speak them. So ningependa kuchukua muda huu kumshukuru sana Lineti for the good interaction that we have had. So thank you so much. So as we close, because now time is well spent, there are those groups that were supposed to meet immediately after this. Especially, there is ambassadors. The meeting I met to understand is still ongoing. Kuna zile groups ambazo zinaenda kukutana for visitation. For that reason, I want to ask any Kwamburu member who is amongst us, please raise up your hand. Kwamburu members. Kwamburu prayer cell. Kwamburu, I can see 2. Kwamburu prayer, I can see 3. Kwamburu prayer cell, I can see 3 of us. So kindly, na kiongozi wenu, nafikiri is around. We have Elder Ouma will accompany you. Elder Ouma Duncan will accompany you. Immediately as we finish with our closing prayer, we go directly for a visitation that is planned ahead of us. Secondly, as you have heard tomorrow, there is Elders Council, the incoming and the serving elders. Our meeting time is exactly 7 a.m. Please, we indulge you to keep time because tomorrow we have several events that are aligned. We have chaplaincy that will be taking the training. We have medical camp that will also be taking concurrently. And at the same time, we have elders joint council that will be done tomorrow. So time is of essence. Kindly, we keep time. So we'll be meeting here at 7 a.m. in the morning. And there are those groups, you know where you will be meeting tomorrow, and even some are meeting this evening. So we'll allow you to do that. Is there anything I've forgotten before I allow our elder and the team to pray? Okay, I'm reminded, tukimaliza, kindly, tukimaliza, usiweke kiti chenye umekalia peke yake, saidia kile kiko karibu na wewe, na kama ni uwezo, tuweze kuzisongesha hapa karibu, ndio Deaconry can be able to arrange them. Please, tukimaliza, you do that. So thank you so much. I would allow the choristers after the prayer to come for one song as I in choir, but we will allow Kwamburu to go for visitation before we leave. I would allow choristers to have one song after the prayer as I consult. So thank you.
I think we'll just rise for a word of prayer. Let's pray. Once again, our eternal, gracious and heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the blessed Sabbath hours you've given us. We want to thank you for allowing us to share your message. We want to thank you for allowing us to even enjoy the worship period. As your children, our desire is the way you've spoken unto us. Let us have a change of character, a change of thought, so that what you want to do in our lives can manifest even the way we live. We thank you for allowing us to share your health message. Humanly speaking, some of these things are not possible, but we want to ask the wisdom that comes from above, that let us lay aside our philosophy and approach your throne of grace with mercy, with humility, so that we can know what you want in our lives. Thank you for the message on HIV/AIDS. We desire to have a change of a character as a church, as individuals, as families. May your will be done even as we face this coming week. May your presence go with your children in all our endeavors, and allow us next Sabbath to congregate to worship you. May your desire and your will be done in our lives now and forevermore. For this is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
I have remembered there is Solomon Plaza. Solomon Plaza prayer cell. Kuna visitation tuko nayo jioni hii Solomon Plaza. So tukitoka na wazee wengine na wale wengine marafiki na jamaa, kuna sister yetu Rispa alipoteza sister yake, they are going to meet there.